Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Well, thank you for joining us. So you and I had a talk last weekend. I kind of just gave you
Yes.
a breakdown of what we do. So this is Movie Talks and Chill. This is Patrick Wall. This is Gavin Butts, and I'm Tony Serrato, and we are your hosts. So let's
Hello,
just start.
host.
So why don't you go ahead and just kind of give us, in the audience, a background of what you do, how you kind of got started, and we'll go from there.
Oh, okay. Sure.
We're just gonna jump right into it.
Well, I got started as an actor when I was 6 years old through my 20s in New York. And then I started writing. And when I came out to LA, about 6 years ago, I had written a short play, and someone asked me to turn it into a film, and I wrote the screenplay, and then they asked me to direct it. And I thought, well, I'm not a film director. And then I was on a conversation with my mom, and she said, "You say yes. Say yes. Why don't you think you get?" And then I got on set, and all of the skills from that I had acquired just had a place to go, and I was more in comfort than I'd ever been, and I loved it so much. And here we are 4 films later. I haven't stopped since then. This is my first feature, the one that we're talking about today. And yeah, so I'm from the Midwest, and then I went and got my education in New York, and then now I'm out here filmmaking in LA.
Very nice. At what point or what year did you move out to LA?
2013.
Okay, very nice. How do you like it out there?
I like it. I mean, it's where are you guys?
So we're in Florida, in St. Petersburg, Tampa area. More St.
Yeah.
Pete, but some people don't know St. Pete. They hear Tampa, and that's what you got to say. So
Yeah. I know it because I have family in Florida, so I loved visiting there. But I like LA. I mean, there's a lot of space here, so there's a lot of space in Florida too. But coming from New York, it's the polar opposite. The energy is just in New York. You feel like you have people and buildings and life on your shoulders, and out here, it's just nothing but space. So it's a very different existence.
oh,
Yeah.
I've only been out there to visit a few times and to check out the area, but no, it is very different out there. So
Yeah, it wouldn't be too wild for you coming from Florida, because the weather's similar. Florida is, you can really relax, and there's some space. But people coming from really busy cities feel like, oh my goodness, what is this? There's no people in the streets walking, and yeah, but it's beautiful. It's really pretty here too. Mountains and ocean. And
unfortunately, I think our secret's out because more and more people are showing up.
yeah, down here.
I heard.
So real quick, kind of give us, since your feature debut, you said for this film that we're going to be talking about, kind of give us a breakdown, the audience a breakdown of what it is, storyline, and just a little bit about it.
Yeah, it's about a young kid who is from a broken family, and he's one of these people that just picks up a guitar and music comes out of him. And he's trying to he starts a band with his buddies in high school, and one of them has a friend who is, she knows a lot of bands on Sunset. She has a lot of money. She has her own beautiful place, and she just knows the music scene, and she says, well, just come out here. And very quickly, they get picked up by a record label, and he kind of gets lost in the lifestyle, and he ends up with this girl who was with one of his bandmates, and makes a lot of mistakes, and gets really caught up in addiction and a lot of the trappings of the music life, and then, not giving away the ending, he kind of goes on a journey to figure out what he's going to do. The first scene is him jumping out the window of a rehab and going on the run.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Strong opening.
Yeah. That's an eye getter. That should draws you right in at the beginning.
Yeah.
Now, how long did this take to shoot?
Well, you're not going to believe me when I tell you. 7 days.
That's insane.
It was insane. And 2 of those days were the music videos. So there's 2 music videos in the feature. One of the band and one of just the Ian Ford, our lead. So we really shot the whole feature in 5 days, and that's including on the PCH, Pacific Coast Highway. We were in one of Elton John's mansions. We were up and down Sunset Boulevard. And then we went into the studio and shot the 2 music videos. So it was definitely an ambitious shoot. But we had to do it. We had to make it happen, and we did.
So that was planned. You said we want to get this done in 7 days, or was it just, was it longer and then you guys were able to just kind of crunch time it, or how did that work out?
It was just budget. It's just exactly what we had. We happily had really good producers, and they just said, this is what you can do. I had a great DP, great art department, and it doesn't, I don't think it looks like what the budget was, and I don't think it looks like it was shot in 7 days, hopefully. But that's exactly, they said, if you're going to do this, this is what you got to do each day. Yeah.
That's awesome. And I saw the trailer, and so it doesn't look like you had a low budget. It looked very well done.
Thank you.
No, you're very welcome.
I'm not averse to, I don't ever want to shoot this low of a budget again in this much time, but I'm not adverse to those constraints. I mean, I think sometimes that's where at least in our case, a lot of creativity came out of that. And I think from what I've heard from other people, if there's too much time and money, sometimes it doesn't really go towards, the actual filmmaking, and you're not, and that's what I'm interested in, is just staying in the story. So.
Oh, absolutely. And so I know I told you a little bit about us on our call before, and we had worked with, we knew the film commissioner of the area at the time. He actually took another film commissioner job in Dallas. So they were so impressed with him here that they yanked him out there. And he was telling us, I think it was, what did you say, 30% or 40% they usually keep to the side just for distribution.
Yeah.
Is that number seem about right on your guys' end, or is that a correct number?
Yeah, I mean, it should be that, but we didn't do it that way. This was guerrilla. This was guerrilla style. I mean, my next film, right now that I'm looking for financing for, I have a totally different plan where everything is going to be pre-organized. This was let's just passion motivated. It was just like, let's just go. And then we get to we get to post, and it's like, okay, how are we going to get this money? And then we get to distribution. Okay, how are we going to get this money? It wasn't the way that I'll do it in the future, but it was I don't know if I would have learned as well as I did had we not done it this way. But your friend's right. That would be the proper way to do it.
He was just explaining to us, he's like, a lot of these people, they go in, let's say, whatever the budget is, let's say it's $50,000, $1 million, regardless of the number. He's like, they always advise them because they do stuff where they do panels and discussions and workshops. And they would say, plan on keeping at least 30 to 40% of that right away. He's like, don't say we got this money and hey, let's get this fancy car and rent this for this scene. It's like, do it with what you have, work with what you have, and keep that as your distribution money. But so yeah, that's just always his tip. But I know a lot of people have done film guerrilla style, which is funny you actually use that term because I've explained a little bit to these guys what that kind of means. Can you explain like your guys' style of guerrilla filmmaking, how you got this done? Like what are some of the tips and tricks that you guys use?
Well, I think what saved it was the people. If you have got to have some trusted partners, and for me it was so that the actor who played Ian Ford brought me the story, and so it was a really intimate process in the sense that he wrote this story, he played the character, and then everything sort of came from him. And then I got one of my favorite DPs, Matt Halla, and then I got a really good producer. So it was just, I don't know how to explain it except I guess guerrilla style is just, it's your own guts and energy that is going to make it happen, as opposed to some, external machine that is pulling the strings,
Oh, very good. Now, everybody's kind of got their own like terms of guerrilla. Like yours is on the angle of the passion and the mindset of getting it done, and you focusing on the people with you to trust. And then you get the technical version of like the guerrilla making, where some people have like zero to no budget, mostly no budget a lot of times. Instead of a rented track and dolly for a shot, they'll get PVC pipe and they'll rig up some kind of little wheel thing on a desk chair, and they'll just pull that person down holding the camera, with like the strap on there. So
That's the way you did it.
yeah, yes, that's why we're specific.
We did that. Matt created a dolly for one of my shorts for one shot that has happened, but for this one the money did go into making sure we had the camera we wanted and the equipment we wanted. So we didn't skimp on that for this one, but yeah, that's part of it too. I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
My apologies. Could you let us know what the budget was? You said you didn't want to do
So he's asking, can you hear us now?
I can hear you, but not him for some reason. Isn't that weird? I don't know why.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, lean in then. You lean over me.
This isn't weird. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, it's got to be the way I'm angled towards the microphone. Could you just let us know what the budget was for this film? Because I know earlier you said you never wanted to make a movie with this low of a budget before, but it definitely didn't seem like you were on a shoestring either.
Yeah, and I shouldn't say that because you never know, but we had 300,000 for the film, and then then on top of that we did a film festival year, and so there were and then with distribution, which I was just thrilled to get Good Deed Entertainment and Cranked Up Films, and there are a lot of costs that come with distribution too, so it kept adding on. I'm not sure how much it ended up being, but somewhere around there. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So What do you think would probably be one of the biggest challenges you had while you were, shooting the film?
There were two. I think one was that my lead, it was very it wasn't autobiographical exactly, but a lot of the very personal issues that he was dealing with, the actor was dealing with too. So sort of keeping him, and it was his first film. So it was, really keeping him, how do I say this, in a positive spirit was, he was taking on a lot in many ways. And, everyone else had done a lot of work that was around him. So that was something that I really took seriously and wanted to make sure he was okay. And it was hard to do that. And one day, and we only had one day when we were on the PCH, we had a ton to shoot, and it started raining.
Oh,
No, no.
And I was just like, what do we do? And it was a gift, really, because it looks amazing, and it was like it was perfect for the scene, because it was a moody scene, and he had just jumped out of rehab, and he's walking down the PCH, and it's raining, and it feels great, but we hadn't set up for it. But Matt, who was such a skilled DP, I mean, we just got garbage bags, and we were out there, and we were all wet and in these garbage bags, and we just made it happen. And it was amazing to see that, we could deal with that. We were out on Sunset Boulevard too, and we didn't have a permit for this one scene. I mean, we had a permit, but then one of the actors, I let them improvise a lot, and one of the actors, the band was out giving out flyers to people to come see their show, and they were so in character that people were really believing that there was a show. So it was so cool. And I was like, this is so great. I want this in the film. But every time they would give out a flyer, someone would say, oh, start talking to them. Oh, this looks great. What kind of music? And they would answer and everything. And then the person would walk away. And so the PAs were running after them and just getting releases. Can you sign this? Can you sign this? This is a movie. This isn't a real band. And so the PAs were, Kymberly, what are you doing? And the producer's like, you have to go get a release. You have to go get a release. And then one of the actors just spontaneously, there was a TMZ bus that came by, and he just ran up to the TMZ bus, and he was like, hey, we have a show tonight. And everyone on the TMZ bus, they were tourists in LA, they're like, hey, great. And they started taking the flyers, and that is in the film. That's in the film.
No, that's super cool.
It was rock and roll, it was a rock and roll vibe. So I really wanted to allow for those spontaneous moments.
Mm-hmm.
And we needed them, and we got them. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I wanted to dig in a little bit about, because I've been to your website, I've checked out some of the stuff you've done, and you are an acting coach, correct?
Yeah, when I can. Yeah.
Nice. So kind of when you're teaching or you're coaching these actors, I'm assuming it's all age groups, or do you tend to stick to a specific age group? Or
yeah, I had I've taught all. Now I teach more people that are working in film, because I'm really focusing on directing and coaching them, and then I teach workshops too. But yeah, I've taught all ages, and you wouldn't believe the performances you can get out of young people. I mean, it's amazing.
Nice. What would you say is like your in all the times you've done coaching and teaching acting, has there been like a real big aha moment with a particular student or someone you've been coaching where maybe whether they were good and then they just blew up and were even better, or maybe they were struggling and then they just had this moment where they have captured a scene that just put you in awe? Is there a moment you've had like that?
Yeah, and I really, at this point, it's become an expertise because I've been doing it for so long, but those moments tend to come when the actor really makes the story their own. So they really, it's as if they're the character, and we find something very personal, a personal connection. So as soon as it becomes personal, then everything they say and do feels aha, and it becomes very original, and it becomes, something that no one else could duplicate, because it's like it's your expression, your life, your point of view, your behavior. So really, I have a lot of techniques to help. That's my passion, is working with actors. I'm obsessed with character and character driven work, and really helping them to step into it. And I think actors are undervalued. If you think about it, no, and I know it's easy to say, well, no, they're not. They get paid a gazillion dollars, but that's like 1% of all actors in the world. A lot of times, on film set, if you think about it, there's no movie without the actors. I think so. For me, I like to really build everything through the actors' work and their relationships and relationship with the story. That's really how an aha moment's going to happen, if it's becomes personal for them.
They just make it their own.
Yeah, and also personal. So if it's a story, about like you're robbing a bank to feed your family, you may never have done that, but when have you been in a situation where you had to do something to help people that you love, that was dangerous, and like digging in and mining that and really finding it in yourself so that you have a real parallel to what you're doing, and then we can see that in your eyes, and we can feel it, the urgency in what you're doing. And that's, in my opinion, that's really what great actors do, is they find some parallel situation that really gets them into that world.
Like Hugh Jackman in My Man. He had the Field of Bread.
Oh yeah, definitely miss.
Yeah.
What?
Hugh Jackman.
You didn't hear him?
Only when you're on the mic. I can't hear you.
Oh, they were saying like Hugh Jackman and Les Miserables.
Mm.
Bread.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really into, for this movie, I watched a lot of Cassavetes. I love the movies of the 70s with Al Pacino and De Niro, and I like movies that feel really visceral and raw and real, and yeah.
Kind of like almost like The Taxi Driver. Like that
Oh,
that movie film.
love it. Yeah. And he's, Robert De Niro, he wasn't a taxi driver, but he went and drove a taxi, and he really put himself into that situation. And to me, that kind of work is always gonna move audiences the most.
Mhm.
You know,
Oh, absolutely. Actually, you kind of started bringing something up that had a question about is there throughout your time, whether before you got into film or during, where you like your inspiration, is there a specific director? You said movie style, obviously you kind of gave us, but is there a director that you've always kind of drawn inspiration from, or at least said that that was the person who made you want to get into this? Is there anything like that in there?
the movie that I saw, and again, I wasn't necessarily conscious of it at the time, because I didn't really think director was, I don't know, I just didn't see it on my plate of options until I did it. But Lisa Cholodenko, she made her first movie was this movie called High Art.
Mhm.
And when I saw that movie, I thought, this is, I would love to create something like that. And I also love, I've watched, a lot of times I'll watch movies based on the project I'm doing, but I loved, for this one, I loved early Gus Van Sant movies,
Mhm.
Cassavetes. We were watching this movie Bullhead by Michael Roscom. And I watched some Agnes Varda, French New Wave stuff. I love the Duplass brothers stuff. There's, I mean, I'm an independent film person.
Mhm.
I always prefer them. I always prefer independent. That's just, so far, that's my truth.
That's why I've told these guys before. Indie film has always been my more favorite type filmmaking. It's I think it's harder. I think there is more passion put into it. Not that big studios don't have passion for it, but the indie people, they don't have the money that the studios have. They don't have all the resources. They don't have maybe that one actor that we can get, and we know we can make money just by putting their name on the marquee or on the title of the movie. And I've always been more, even though he does some goofier stuff, but like Kevin Smith, I've always kind of liked him because I like dialogue heavy movies where I don't need action. You could put two guys in a room, like My Dinner with Andre. It's one of my favorite movies, just two guys talking in a restaurant. Richard Linklater, guys like that. And,
Yeah.
that's what I love is those guys. And I've even read some or watched some interviews with them, and Richard Linklater after a while got into the Hollywood scene for a bit, and he got out of the big studios. Like I'll just make movies back in Texas again, and he goes back to his roots because he doesn't like the constraint, or he doesn't like the overhead of people wanting to make changes, and because they are funding it, he can't have the control. So I do appreciate the indie world a lot more, and I think there's a lot more unique film that comes out of indie film because nowadays, even though I'm a big geek on it, the Marvel stuff and the comic book, they're all great and they're fun. They're stuff that I used to read as a kid. But now it's either comic book movies or just remakes and reboots of stuff I already watched in the 80s and 70s and 90s, and we're just redoing it. Whereas you find fresh new stories with fresh new talent and directors and actors and stuff. And so that's why I've always kind of appreciated it myself.
Yeah. I really, yeah, Linklater is amazing. And I think, it was interesting what they did with the Joker. And I think a lot of that happened through Joaquin, because they really took this Marvel universe, but made it really personal. It felt a lot more like an independent film. Because it was so character driven. And I loved that. And I think you can do it. I just think that, like P.T. Anderson, like he does a lot. I think I don't know how you do it with the studios, but it is, and I think you know, it's even harder for women too. I think women have a really hard time being trusted in that system, but I think that's changing. And I guess you just have to say, I'm, you know, whatever Todd Phillips did, whatever P.T. Anderson does, I guess you just have to say, I gotta make it my way, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's what I like too, is like they get to do it their way. You know, it's
Yeah.
nobody else has control of that. They could just say, I'm doing it, this is how I'm doing it. So I think that's awesome.
Yes. That's the
Um,
independent spirit, right?
real quick before we continue, just so you know, I had the pop-up notification with about 10 minutes left, but we do want to continue this. Do you have time if we resend a new invite in about 5 minutes to you?
Sure, sure.
We do have some more questions for you, but I just don't want to cut you off in mid conversation. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and close up here. We'll resend you an invite right now, and then we'll jump back on.
Perfect.
All right, we'll see you in a second.
Okay, thanks.
Hello, welcome back. Sorry about that. You gotta love technology sometimes.
Yes.
That was just a brief word from our sponsor.
Yeah.
That's where we'll put the commercial.
Yeah.
Great.
So before we get cut off, we do have quite a few more questions for you. So you guys had some specifics, didn't you? You had a question?
Yeah, I did have one question.
I'm gonna lean in there.
Hi, Kymberly. Can you hear me?
Hi. I remember you.
I'm the guy off the I guess going back to your past.
Can you lean in a little bit more? I'm sorry.
No,
Sit
no
on
worries.
the lap.
No. Just leaning.
Just talking about your past work a little bit. Could you tell us about your debut director film and what was that like as like a first-time director?
It was ideal. I mean, and I realize how blessed I am, but it was a film called Rose's Turn, and we shot it. It was about a homeless woman, and we shot it in downtown LA. We went and looked at there's a lot of homeless people there. And I had a great cast, Rhonda Stubbins White, Claudia Ierne, and Eric Dents. And it was a 3-person film about this very wealthy Swedish couple working in finance in LA, and this young woman is skating in downtown LA, and she sees this homeless woman sweeping her area, and approaches her, and just out of the kindness of her heart says, I want to help you. And she doesn't really, she's kind of in a bubble, a privileged bubble. She doesn't really realize what she's getting into, and that so I had a great producer named Chris Abernathy, and Matthew Halla, the same DP that did I Heard Sarah. And everything felt very natural to me, more than anything I'd done before. It was really in flow. I had done some rehearsal with the actors with this technique I'm telling you about, to really drop them into it. And it was beautiful. It couldn't have gone better. It was a great debut. It got into and won a lot of festivals. It went to Cannes. It was really sort of this sort of nod from the universe. Kymberly, this is what you should be doing. And I listened, and just mainly because, having trained as an actor, having directed a lot of theater, acting coach, writer, filmmaking is a place where all those skill sets are needed. And I didn't really realize it consciously that there was a place where everything could go together. But now I do. So That's what I'm going after. It was great. It was really great.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
As he pops in real quick. Do you have something, or you want to?
Go ahead.
Because I wanted to ask, kind of, you mentioned film festivals. So what kind of experiences have you had at some of these film festivals? What was one of your favorite ones to be at, or your best moment at one?
I think the well, there were a couple. There was my second film, Faith, which is the most personal to me. I'm actually creating a series out of inspired by that film. It got into the New York City Independent Film Festival, and I flew out there for it, and it won. And I just couldn't believe it. I mean, being in New York, and when you do these films, you kind of feel like, I hope one person gets it. If just one person gets it. So you feel, if it's really personal, and at least for me, I never feel like, oh, I'm sure it's gonna really resonate. I feel shy and awkward, and I'm sitting there in the audience like this, and so that was just extraordinary to have that experience. And then there's a little festival in Victoria, Texas, and they screened Rose's Turn, which was my first film, and Rhonda Stebbins White won Best Actress there. Okay. And they're great because that festival is so much about the filmmakers. It's not about anything else. It's you go see the film, then you get together and listen to music and eat and talk about the movies. And it just feels so good, because sometimes you go to a film festival and it's all about the red carpet and no one's talking to each other. But what I love about film festival culture is, people like yourself, you guys really are into movies, and you're into the filmmakers, and that's a rare experience for a filmmaker to people. You actually care about my movie and want to talk about it. And I've really discovered that with film festivals. There's another great one in New York called the Chelsea Film Festival, and they screened a couple of them, including I Heard Sarah, and just a lot of talking about the films and the themes and the actors, and asking questions like you're asking. And it means so much. You don't get that anywhere else.
Oh, absolutely. Well, since you say you love those type of film festivals, I've got a great recommendation for one. That would be the Sunscreen Film Festival here in St. Petersburg. They do it at the end of April every year. And the film commissioner I mentioned to you earlier, he founded it 18 years ago, or 19 years ago. They had to shut down for a year because of when the pandemic was on, rearing its ugly face.
Yeah.
And their motto is, this is a film festival, or a film festival for filmmakers by filmmakers. So everybody who's created or been a part of the film festival is somebody that's been in the industry, whether they're still in or not, but at one point or currently are in the film industry. And so I think you would really like it.
I'm sure I would. That sounds amazing. I'd love to come. I'd love to bring a film there. Yeah, absolutely.
I know we can talk offline about it, but I do have some of the people that we know that work for submission purposes, like where you would send it to, the contacts. You can get it through their website, but I can get you all that information offline. But it's definitely, that's kind of how we were doing this at the beginning. In July of 2021 is when we started this podcast. I told you a little bit about that. I used to do film stuff, and then kind of got out of it, and then wanted to get the passion back in some way. So we knew him in the first year we were doing this. The film commissioner said, "Hey, you guys come on out and do your show here." And so, just like you were saying, everybody's talking to everybody there. And then, I've been to a few in the past myself. It was they were brand new to it. So this was their first film festival. But I told them, they were like, just go up and ask people if you can do interviews. We were up on like a second level mezzanine just to kind of be out of the main crowd. And everybody we walked up to, we had some directors, some producers, some actors, audio tech people, all sorts of different branches of the filmmaking. Yeah. And we walk up and just cold approach to like, hey, we're doing a podcast, talk about movies. Can we do an interview? And every single one of them was like, absolutely, 100%. We're going right now. And so to your point, that's what the fun of it is, like those type film festivals. People are there because of their work, and they're there to talk about their work, and they're excited about talking about their work. So that was a really good one. So now we do this. We're going to continue to do this every year at the film festival, and we'll be there as well. So again, definitely should check it out sometime.
Yes, bring me out to Florida. Give me an excuse to come to Florida. And that is so great to have a podcast out of a film festival. That's so smart, so wonderful, because those are the podcasts I listen to too, as a filmmaker. I'm sure most filmmakers do. We want to hear those podcasts. There was another, I should say, I heard Sarah, there was another film festival called the Bare Bones Film Festival. And they appreciate the kind of films that we're talking about, like when it's similar to yours, but they really also focus on when the director is sort of doing everything, like Robert Rodriguez.
Mm-hmm.
So I went out there, and it was in Muskogee, Oklahoma. And it was the coolest experience. It was this old Art Deco theater. And when I was out there, Scorsese and DiCaprio were out there shooting Flowers of the Moon. It was because Oklahoma is a really cool place to shoot, which I didn't know. And they took us to hear the blues, amazing blues music that I who knew it was out there. It was just a real specific cultural experience. They took such good care of us. And then I heard Sarah won the Robert Rodriguez Indie Auteur Film of the Year award.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, you guys get it. You get it. You get that we did everything to make this happen.
That's fantastic. And we've been noticing just in our area, and just by talking to all these people that are involved in the industry and people we've had on and interviewed, whether they be directors or actors and so on and so forth. This area is blowing up now more and more for film. Like there's been films shot here before, or a couple scenes, we're famous for Cocoon, that was done down here in Pasadena area. Magic Mike, Dolphin.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, The Punisher, Dolphin Tale, all those stuff. But there's so many more indie films coming to the area now, and I mean the big budget movies as well. And that was one of their goals, is to basically, they do like grant stuff with the film commission. They find like rebates and stuff. So hey, if you shoot your film here, we'll get you back some of your money. So whatever at the end of the day, whatever your budget was, if it doesn't make anything, hey, you're getting something back. So they're basically just trying to bring the life of more and more film here, and it's been a major influx, not just of people moving here, but also a lot of actors and big A-list people are starting to come here. There's an actor that he loves from Stargate and Parker Lewis Can't Lose, Corin Nemec. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. So he's actually just recently moved to Clearwater down here in St. Pete area, because he's working with a company called Scatter Brothers Productions, who we got to know as well. They're part of the film festival. And so he's said he's going to do a bunch of indie films down here now. So he just moved down here. So
oh my gosh.
If you ever want to bring this is definitely a place for you to think about doing that in the future.
Thank you so much. I have a film I could shoot there. That's exciting. That's exciting. I love hearing that, and I want to come, definitely.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And if you need any extras,
Yeah,
put this whole aside.
definitely. Definitely, without a doubt, no problem. I will.
Guy in the back.
Yeah, guy with sign.
Yeah, guy with sign. That's all he needs. He doesn't even need his name.
Yeah, great. No, that sounds so good. I wish I'd known about it last year when we were doing our film festival rounds, but now I do. Yeah.
And they're constantly talking about it. You know, they start, like I said, it basically it begins at the end of April. It's April 27th to 30th. It's usually the last weekend of April, beginning of May. So I don't know about like submission times, but they start taking submissions for the next year, like in June and July, if I remember correctly. So just a couple months afterwards, they're already, you know, grinding away at getting the next year's process going. And that's what's really good about it. It's grown so much, and it's a fun experience. It's not an old like an art house thing. It's actually what they do is there's a courtyard area with a big AMC theater, movie theater, and so they take over the entire theater. So they use the theaters for screenings, but then they do workshops in some of them. It's really fun. So you know, just wanted to let you know. And again, we'll talk offline about that, you know, more, and I can get you that info, and you know, we'll go from there. But definitely great place to think about filming your next, you know, movie if you ever need a beautiful scenery, or you know, I
Yeah.
mean, there's a lot to see here. I mean, our downtown St. Pete area is quite nice. I mean, it's a beautiful area, very got a lot of history to it as well. So just something
Oh,
for
thank
you.
you so much. No, this, I'm telling you, that's a really good info for me. And I love, I've led a couple of workshops at film festivals too. I love doing that. I love the whole culture. It's one of my favorite things in life is film festival culture. I love it. I could live there. I wish I could just live in film festivals.
Well, in my opinion, you can correct me if I'm wrong. This is just my opinion. Film festival is the one place, especially like and the type we're talking about that we like. It's the one place where you're never gonna find a bad vibe. Like everything, everybody's there. Although that's a competition, you want best film, you want best picture. Everybody is still there to support each other because they all know what it took to get there and what it took to put
Yeah.
into it. So you're never going to be like, it's going to be like a fair game, you know, like, hey, fair play. You did obviously you did a great job and everybody recognized it, but there's never any really negativity in those type of places, and that's what I like about it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about why we're all in this, not in the business of it. Sometimes can feel not like that. So yeah, just that connection with people that are doing the same thing you're doing or love the same things you're loving is it's priceless, really. It's great.
Nice. I do have you know, a couple other questions. Obviously, we got some time here. So when we first kind of got connected to you, there was a company that reached out. It's Jane Owen PR.
Yeah.
Can you kind of tell us a little bit about that company, how you guys have connected to each other, and kind of a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, this was part of the learning curve. You know, I was telling you, like, next time I'll know all of the steps to plan for in the beginning. But this one was just every step of the way. It was like, oh, you got distribution. Oh my God, what do we do now? So then, you know, you learn it on the spot. But the next thing was, you know, you need a PR person because you know, they're sending it out to, you know, all of these interviewers, all of these reviewers, and you want someone managing all of that for you. So I reached out to a friend of mine, and he recommended Jane. He said she's she does amazing work with independent film. And so I went to Dan Adeniev, the lead actor and also EP of I Heard Sarah, and I just said, listen, there's this new tier here. What do you want to do? And he's like, no, let's do it. He's like, I'm so thrilled. We're streaming. We got this great distribution. Let's do this right. So he talked to Jane, and she's been great. And you know, and I was really nervous because I hadn't had a film reviewed before. I mean, I thought, oh my God, what if people don't like it? You know, and we've gotten really solid reviews. We've had these amazing interviews like this one, and so she's really good. I couldn't recommend her more highly, Jane Owen.
Nice.
Yeah.
That was actually, it was a very exciting for us as well. Like when we got the email, like I said, we're still fairly new, but we're growing quickly and we're expanding out there. But when I heard that we hit the West Coast, I was like, we made it now. It's like we hit LA. I was like, we're a movie podcast and we made it to Hollywood. So hey, what
Right. I mean, listen, she's picky too. I'm sure you guys are doing great, because they are not, if they reach out to you, they must really love what you're doing. Yeah. So congratulations on your new expansion.
I'm glad the camera's not close up. I'm getting red.
Well, that's fantastic. Yeah, no, I love talking about the film festivals. Do you have, if you can talk about it, is there any like next project, maybe if it's not even in a pre-production state of it, just something, an idea you have, like what is the movie you want to make? Like what's the next one you'd really love to make?
I have a movie called The Man Inside that I'm ready to make right now. That's the one that could shoot. It's set on a university campus. So I have been looking outside of LA at I looked a little bit in Texas. Now that you said St. Petersburg, I'm happy to look there. I can't wait to make this film. I personally, my managers didn't do this, but I just wanted to see if it resonated. So I sent it out to screenplay contests at film festivals all over the country and in Europe, and it keeps placing in or winning. So I was like, okay, if it's resonating, I'm getting a green light. So right now they have it out to a couple big actresses for the lead role and are talking to financiers. But as soon as I get someone, I am ready to go. It's called The Man Inside, and it's a really great story. And yeah, I can't wait.
Well, we look forward to hearing about it.
I hope a producer is listening to this right now. I've got your next script. Great characters, great relationships, really unique. Gonna be fun. Yeah.
Well, good luck. I hope it, you get that going as soon as possible.
Absolutely.
Me too. Tomorrow, right now.
All right, we'll talk tomorrow then again. We'll be like, hey, so get it going now.
Did you have anything?
Oh, I just don't want to keep holding the voice here, man.
Every question I come, you're already
Okay. Sorry. Well, so has there been? Trying to think of how I wanted to ask this question. It's just has there been anybody you've really enjoyed? I mean, you obviously enjoy working with a lot of the people, on movies you've worked on. Has there been one really even greater experience than anything else on any movie that you've worked on, like whether it's with one of the actors or one of the crew, where it's just an overall, it's just the best experience you've ever had?
Oh my God. I mean, I feel like every movie has a few moments of inspiration that are unexpected. That's what I love, is when actors, like in I Heard Sarah, the three guys, Dana Diniev, Cameron Jones, and Ethan Harris Riggs, when we were like setting up a shot, they would go off and just start writing music together, as they just did it on their own. No one told them to do that. So they were the band in the movie, and so they wrote a song together, and it was really good. And so it's in the movie. We put it in. We were like, no, let's shoot that. Okay. And so when actors are so inspired that they do something that is beyond my own imagination. Like, had I thought had I thought of that, I would have said, you guys go write a song together because it would be more authentic. You're a band, but I didn't think of it. They did. And, so when actors really, take it and come up with their own brilliant ideas, like when Ethan Harris Riggs, his character Skate, he ran up to that TMZ bus again. Like, I wouldn't have said do that, but it was so fabulous that he did. And this last short I made, Now and Never, the DP was incredible. It was the first female DP I'd worked with, Leah Nova, and she came up with the most creative shots, and she was just such a badass. She got like $1 million of equipment and lenses and stuff. It was I don't know, they weren't worth $1 million, but there was there was some kind of, she got a ton of stuff donated just so that we could get these really special shots. In my movie Faith, which has Britt Lauer from Severance and Jessica Bohr from Shameless, who's doing an off-Broadway play right now with Diane Wiest. There is this shot where this guy's saying, you need to trust love, and I want you to love me. And I have a close-up on her, and just one single tear just starts coming down her face. It's just these moments that come out of the shoot that you don't plan are always, the best.
Mm-hmm.
The best. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. I also wanted to ask, when we speak of, like you said, you're getting the really cool shots and the different lenses. Would you say you have like a very a specific style that you like things shot? How you like a movie shot? Like some have like a dark and gritty look. Some have a very abstract kind of feel. Do you feel that you have a specific style, or if not, is there a specific style you would like to, going forward, put in all your films?
I really choose the shots based on, the perspective. So I think people feel I have a certain aesthetic, which is kind of edgy and visceral and raw and strong POV in all my films. But I would say that each one varies a little bit depending on what I want to concentrate on in the story. But yeah, I think I'm very character driven. I like a lot of handheld. I like, I like to get inside the character's head, so we kind of feel what they're feeling. Across the board, those three things are definitely gonna always be with me.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like it. I've always just found it's so unique. We sent out on a post recently in our social media, basically ask people like, who's a director you could name off the top of your head just based on a style. Like me, I can recognize Kevin Smith all day long. I was originally going to say Richard Linklater, but his style changes every time. Like that guy is all over the board. I mean, from Dazed and Confused to Scanner Darkly. I mean, they're completely different movies and different shot completely differently. But at the beginning, when he does his real indie stuff, he has a very unique, let's stick to Texas, it's usually like Austin or something. Usually low end places, or not low end, but not well known places, usually a suburban neighborhood or something. And he kind of sticks to those type things and very family driven or friend driven type storylines. But yeah, we send out, we get a few responses, but that's why I like to ask everybody we talk to if they've directed, if they feel, they have that, specific style or something. So I do like that though.
Yeah. And I think I don't really love it when people say, what's your genre? Because while I'm sure I have my own aesthetic, I think like you're saying, I mean, when he did, Before Sunrise, that series, he's in Paris, and and then when he does Dazed and Confused, it's this, slice of life of Texas. And I think, why do we have to limit ourselves? I mean, maybe, we envision something different based on the story. Yeah, so that's how I work too, but there's still priorities, like a value system. Like with Linklater, it's always character driven. Like he always gets you inside the head of the characters. It's not about the style or the amazing shots first. It's the characters first.
Oh yeah, and that kind of goes along with them. Like I said, I like the dialogue heavy. It's all about, like I said, the character. So it comes in the conversations. The conversations help not only define and drive the character, but also help them evolve later. So you
Yeah.
have like the Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, Before Midnight, 3 movies all in a row. But if you watch the first one and go to how the characters end up in the third one, they're completely different. I mean, they're same people, but they have, they've had that long time together. And I don't want to tell the whole story because we don't have that much time, but they're you can see how much they've evolved and grown by the third movie and changed. So I kind of like it. So
Yeah, and I really respect him because he works with the actors. He worked with Judy Delphi and Ethan Hawke because he really wanted the stories to feel truthful. And so, them, and, from a younger stage, a middle stage, and then a married stage of life, it's like, how do you feel? What are your stories? And really making it, again, personal.
yeah.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Well, we got a few minutes left with you. So just if there's anything else you'd like to plug or put out there for anybody out there, again, I know we've already talked about what you've done, but if there's anything else you'd like to present before we have to say our goodbyes, unfortunately, and then I have one last question for you after that, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. Yeah, well, what I would love is for people to get the movie. It's streaming on everywhere, Apple TV, iTunes, Amazon, Google Play. It's VOD, so please, have a look, and there's a lot of good music in it too. We had a great composer that composed all the music from our lead character's voice. So I'd love people to have a look, and that would be great. It just released a couple weeks ago.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Well, we have a tradition with everybody we interview.
I was hoping.
Do you have a one and all favorite movie or favorite genre?
Oh my gosh, that's always so hard.
And that's you. That's we get.
Yeah.
Does everyone say that?
Yeah.
It's really so difficult for me because I watch so many movies all the time. It's I guess the 2 movies, and again, these are movies that are influencing the screenplay I told you about, that I'm the film I want to make, but High Art by Lisa Cholodenko and Good Will Hunting by Gus Van Sant. It's kind of a mixture of those 2 movies, and those are movies that I could watch again and again and again. And I also Magnolia by P.T. Anderson, I just adore. Oh my God, it's so hard.
I think you named some solid ones already, so we'll let you off the hook after that.
Yeah, because it's like, you say one and then 5 more come into one's mind. But
I'm a victim of the same response. I was like, I can't just pick one, but we do like to ask that question. So but we are about out of time. Kymberly, thank you again so much for joining us. We hope to have you back on again sometime if you'd like.
I love it. Thank
Awesome.
you.
So we always have a closing out, and we'd like you to join us. So that's all the time we have for Movie Talks and Chill. We are your hosts. I'm Tony Serrato.
I have Gavin Bond.
I'm Patrick Wall.
And to our special guest.
I'm Kymberly Harris.
All right.
Don't forget, guys, you can visit us at our website, movietalksandchill.com, email us at talktous@movietalksandchill.com, or find us on our YouTube channel.
You can also follow us on social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Movie Talks and Chill.
You can listen to us on Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, coming soon to Apple Podcasts, CastBox, and Overcast.
New episodes available every Wednesday. Talk to you then.
Theme music for our podcast was composed, arranged, and performed by Paul the Rock.